Hey everybody, this is Kenn Renner, a real estate expert, real estate broker in the Austin, Texas region. You're coming to you live from my home office here, and I've got my assistant Daniel here. He's going to be helping me out through the webinar. Appreciate you taking the time to spend a little bit of time learning with me about the whole idea of the Austin real estate investments. I've been in the Austin area since 1993. I moved here to buy investment properties back then, got married, and started a family, and was just realized that this was a great place to live. So I moved from California to here in 1993. So that's 25 years ago, and I've been in the business since 1983. So that gives me 35 years of real estate experience. So appreciate you taking hopefully about 40, 45 minutes of your time here to give you a deep dive into what we're doing here in Austin. So we'll get started right now. We'll go ahead right into the PowerPoint because I know your time is valuable, and I appreciate you taking your time as we get started. All right. Okay. So my name is Kenn Renner, real estate broker. Been in the real estate industry since I was 19 years old. I'm 55 now, so that gives me the 35 years of experience. And I specialize in real estate investment properties in the Austin and Central Texas region. And so, Danny, do you have the little screen on there too?
Yeah, it's
awesome. Okay. All right. So you've got my contact information here. I'm very hands-on. I'm building relationships here with all the people that attend and want to visit. Don't feel that people oftentimes think I'm too busy to help them out because they're like, oh, he's too busy. But the bottom line is that's how I do my business. I give you my cell phone number right there on the screen. That's 512-423-5626. And that way we can connect. You can call or text or email me, and we'll give you all that contact information here in the coming slides. And you also have an opportunity to ask questions. And so if you go ahead and ask questions in the chat box, we can go ahead and Daniel will tell me what you got, and I'll revisit them as we move through the webinar. Okay, well, so if you look at this picture here on the right, that's our beautiful city of Austin, Texas, just ranked again by U.S. News and World Report as the nicest place in America to live. And I think that's 3 years running. And so, that's U.S. News and World Report. But I believe it's one of the nicest places in America to live as well. It's also, according to Forbes, is the most changed city in the last 10 years. And so we've had a major explosion in growth in companies and people coming from all over the world. We're a major high-tech hub. So it's just been a really exciting ride. And when I got here, half those buildings weren't even there, and now it's just a whole different city. It's like a utopia. So there's a little bit about my family here. That's my family. Got 3 kids, ranging from 9 all the way up to 22. Actually, he's 24 now. Wow. And that's my beautiful wife, Michelle, and my rock and roll daughter to the right. She's actually playing several shows, released her 3rd CD. And so in the live music capital of the world, that's what she does. And then Julia is just our little cute 4th grader. So the whole effort, the whole idea here is that we're helping you to become investors with minimal time, effort, and capital. And a lot of my clients from Silicon Valley, we're just even locally, a lot of our investor clients are just super, super busy. And so time is a commodity. And that's the thing that we understand that. And we don't want to waste your time. We want to maximize your time. The effort, we handle pretty much everything through this whole process. And the only thing you really have to do is get in with our processes and basically decide on which property you want, and then do the mortgage side of things. But other than that, our team handles everything. And capital, that's the whole thing about being able to buy in our area with usually our clients put 20 or 25% down. Median price here is $300,000. Our average investor sales price around $200,000. That's for single family homes. We also deal with duplex, fourplex market, and we'll talk maybe a little bit about that, and also multifamily. There's just not a whole lot of that, and of course the entry level for that is, as far as capital, once you start getting into multifamily, is a little bit higher. But I'd be more than happy to talk on a one-on-one basis about multifamily as well if you're interested. So yeah, I've already kind of given you a little bit of my background here. Also, not only 35 years in the business, but over $400 million in closed sales, making me one of the top investment brokers in the entire Texas region. Best-selling author and international speaker and guest expert on HGTV's #1 show, House Hunters. And then we have the Hope Cause, which is how housing opportunities possible for everyone. And that's really has to do with not only just people wanting to buy their home, but also to buy their investment properties. Is that our goal is to make homeownership or as an investment or as your own home possible for everyone. So that's a little bit about me. Also, the HGTV's House Hunters show. This actually was the Hofarth show. Did that several years ago, and that was a couple doctors moving from the Lake Tahoe region to Lake Travis region. So we were able to help them. We were able to document it through our House Hunters. If you go to my YouTube channel, you'll be able to see our House Hunter shows as well. So I was on 3 different shows. It was a lot of fun. Here's our team and our growing team. And we actually brought on another team member last week. And so just to let you know, it's not just me. We have a whole background of people that are here to support me. The cool guy with the glasses back there, that's my father-in-law. And he's my rich dad in my own rich dad, poor dad story. He's kind of the patriarch of our company. And Daniel, who's on the right, the tall guy on the right, he's actually sitting next to me. He's our IT guy, and so you'll get to. I'd like to introduce you to our team when the time's right. If you come out here and then visit us, we'll be connecting you with our. On the left is Kimberly. She's our leasing agent, and then and on the right is Sue Barnes, who you'll probably be dealing with as well. She is my lead buyer specialist. So my wife to the right of me, and to behind her is Andrea, my office manager. So getting into Austin, and this is a picture I took from the top of the Hyatt Regency Hotel. By the way, if you come out here, it's a great place to take a picture of the Austin skyline. It's at the, 14th, 15th floor of the Hyatt Regency, looking north over the city. This is what it looked like in 2003, 2004, just before I started coming out to California and working with investors way back then. I've been working with investors for the last 25 years. But in 04, 05, 06, I sold over 300, 400 investment properties in that time frame, mostly single families and mostly to people from the coasts. So this is what it looks like now. In fact, there's a few more buildings since I took this picture about a year ago, and you can see the whole skyline has grown, and you can see they have high-rise condos and all kinds of new office buildings. But then if you pan left, which wasn't in this picture, in the other picture before, if you pan left, this is all brand new, including the high-rise office buildings as well as condos. And this is the downtown is just exploding right now. You can see cranes everywhere. And Google has just has announced buying or taking a 33-story tower that they haven't yet to build. It's probably where that crane is on the left. A 33-story building. They'll be taking a whole entire building downtown. Now, I have a video that I just am editing for the new downtown, which is the high-tech hub of Austin, which is the Domain, which is about 20 minutes north of the regular downtown. I should have had some photos in here because last weekend I was out doing some photos and videos of the area. But the Domain is where the home of Facebook is, where they're taking a 13-story tower. Indeed took a whole building. HomeAway is taking several floors, and Amazon is taking nearly a whole building. And of course, it's a mixed-use development, and so it's really super popular and super crowded. I was out there last Sunday, and it was wall-to-wall people in 103-degree heat spending their money. So we are a very vibrant economy going on here right now. But it comes with its challenges. So as I drove away from taking those pictures, I got on I-35, and this is what we've got to deal with. So that's the challenges of a growing city, is that we have some traffic issues and also some affordability issues, but nothing like it is in the coast. Our average median home price is $300,000, and our median rent is about $1,250 to $1,300 for a 2-bedroom apartment. So. It's capital. Austin is the capital of Texas, so we've got city government, state government, county government. It's a high-tech hub. That's one of the Dell buildings, Dell Inc., of course. The largest tech employer in Austin is Dell Inc., still so far. But Amazon will be overtaking them. Not Amazon, Apple will be overtaking them because they're building a $1 billion facility and in North Austin. And that $1 billion facility augments the already 7 buildings that they have. And that's going to be software engineers, though. So it's what we really have here is not just buildings. We have human capital. We have super talented engineers, highly educated, highly paid, and that's why all these high tech companies are gathering here as a hub, because of the human capital. And we're seeing a lot of people from my friends in Bay Area, a lot of people relocating here, or maybe they're just relocating their money here because they can't get anything that makes any sense as far as real estate is concerned in the Bay Area. I was just there a month ago doing this same presentation for a lot of people, and it was just a very, very well. It's basically a housing crisis is really pretty much. And 44% of the people polled in Silicon Valley said that they're planning in the next few years to move out. So that says something. And we're welcoming them here right in Austin, where this is our toll roads, where we have really good access now. This is actually when they were being constructed. They've been there for 10 years. And this really makes the speed limit on this is 85 miles an hour with no lights. So that means we're going 90 miles an hour. So that's just the way it is. We get around. So it helps with our traffic problem. It doesn't help with every traffic problem. I-35 is still very congested, especially downtown. The lifestyle is amazing. Golf courses everywhere. This is Terra Vista Golf Course. I actually have a rental property, a turnkey rental property, which means I have somebody who wants to sell their investment property, already has a tenant in place. And it's a property for $240,000. It's about 1,600 square foot. It's renting for $1,600, but they will raise the rent to $1,750. Those numbers work pretty well. This is Avery Ranch, close to where I live. I sold over 250 houses in this 4,000 unit subdivision, and it is also a golf course community. Sold tons of investment properties in here when it made sense. In 2000, you could buy a home in here for $140,000. Now you can't get in this area for less than $320,000. Good day to be golfing. So our beaches here are the lakes. We have a whole Highland Lake system. So our recreation is amazing. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were out on the boat for a birthday party, and it really was nobody out there. It was during the week, of course. Even when I first moved here, even on the weekends, it wasn't crowded. But the water temperature is 85 degrees. This lake has 70 miles long and has 200 miles of shoreline. So it's easy to get away and get out, and this is called Lake Travis, but we have a bunch of other lakes: Lake Travis, Lake Georgetown, Lake Belton, and that's the way we get in the water. And in the summertime, like it is now, with triple digits, jumping in the 85-degree water is very refreshing. All right, we're the live music capital of the world. You've heard of South by Southwest and Austin City Limits Music Festival. And it just keeps on growing and growing. And as I mentioned earlier in the webinar, my daughter is a professional musician. She's 19, just turned 20, and she's released her third album and out playing in all the venues and growing her music business. So look her up sometime. She's very active, and she's got a great new CD out. Okay, here it is. This was 2017, but we just had the 2019 report, which also says the exact same thing, which is we are according to U.S. News and World Report, the nicest place in America to live. You can look up the article yourself, just Google it, and you can see why they came up with that. San Jose actually was number 2. That's kind of cool. All right, this is a picture that my Bay Area friends kind of cry when they see this or kind of get really inspired. Here's what the difference is of what the house on the left is actually a client of mine who sold that house for it was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1-car garage. It was completely renovated. It's in San Mateo, and he sold it for $1.4 million. The house on the right is a house that you can get. It's 4,400 square foot, 5-car garage, custom, upgraded. Everything is upgraded, and we can see tile roofs on the lakefront for $1.4 million. So that's why when we have our clients come out from whether relocating or whether they're buying, it is a kid in the candy store when they come out here. And so, in fact, the gentleman, Mr. Bill, we'll call him, his first name is Bill, I don't want to disclose his last name, that sold that $1.4 million house on the left. he turned that into 9 houses. He did a 1031 tax deferred exchange and turned that into 9 houses here that we're selling. We're just closing the last couple to complete his tax deferred exchange. And we'll talk a little bit about exchanges here in a minute. Study that picture for a while. Just kidding. All right. So I want to kind of give you a little background about my philosophy. Give me about 7 minutes to go through my rich dad, poor dad story. And, of course, Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, probably the most famous real estate book written. And it actually was co-written by a friend of mine. Her name is Sharon Lechter. She is the CPA and the financial brains behind Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I've spoken on with her on many of her conferences and many of her stages as well. And she's the real estate CPA behind the whole Rich Dad, Poor Dad story. But I'll take a look at my own true life stories. My dad was a real estate attorney. He passed about 10 years ago. And he understood real estate for sure. He was a corporate real estate attorney. But you know what? The thing he did, he didn't keep his real estate investments. And we'll talk about that a little bit further on in the story. My father-in-law, who's still doing well. He's 80 years old. He's kicking it, still working on our team, still opening up doors for people, whether they're real estate. He doesn't have to work anymore, but he does just keep busy, and he hangs out with the grandkids and the grand dogs. So he's very wealthy, and all he did was really just buy property, hold onto it, exchange it, buy, hold, and end up with quite a substantial portfolio of property just by holding it, and makes him a multimillionaire where he doesn't have to work anymore if he didn't want to. So we're going to talk about my dad's first purchase. When I was born in 1963, bought a house in San Mateo, California, and we actually looked it up in Zillow and found it. And it was built in built in the 40s or 50s, but it was he purchased that house there in San Mateo for $17,000, and for $17K with a VA loan, 0 total move-in. Right. A couple years later, he sold this house. He had to get transferred out to the East Coast, so he sold this house for $25,000. So he thought he was doing pretty good. Not bad. No, buy it for 17. A couple years later, sell it for 25. This is this same house now sold in January of this year for $1.6 million. San Mateo, just first memory. It's kind of fun to go down memory lane here, up by Crystal Springs Reservoir. So after my dad moved back from the East Coast, we moved to Southern California, and we lived in this house, Whitestone Road, and in Palos Verdes, another suburb at the time. It was still a suburb, but it's a very, very expensive suburb. But at the time, it was kind of a commute. My dad would commute to downtown LA from Palos Verdes. This house was, I think he paid $42,000 or $52,000 for this. This house now is at $1.29 million. Just a regular 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. And so the point of my story here is that I counted up every single house like this that we moved into. My dad also leased at times. He would lease properties as opposed to buying. He would buy and sell, or buy and lease. And he never kept holding on to the properties. And then the whole thing is that if he had kept every single one of the houses that he just lived in while we were growing up, if he just kept every single one of them, I think it was about 12 houses that he had over the years that we were growing up, living in all the different areas that we lived. Those homes added up together would be worth over $10 million, and they'd be free and clear. So it's just it was a kind of a wake up call for me to say, wow, if he just kept held on that first one or this one, he'd be an accidental millionaire. Could have lived a better life towards the end of his years, and then he could have also rented it out and had an income of $3,000 or $4,000 a month to augment his retirement. So just one house would have changed his life in retirement, or 10 houses or 12 houses. He would have been a mega multimillionaire, a decamillionaire. And so really, and they would have all been paid off by now, really. So he would have been able to leave a legacy for his kids. Unfortunately, he didn't keep all of his properties or any of his properties, and I had the honor to pay for his living expenses for the last few years before he passed. But I think he would have probably wanted to have a different, I would have liked to have had a legacy for his kids. And this is kind of some of the whys of why we do real estate. It's not only to build a fortune for ourselves and our family, but also to leave a legacy for our kids and our grandkids. So what if you kept them all? The net worth, $10 million. And so I want to ask you a question really is what it would be your big why when it comes to owning real estate. Now, I know you've got stocks and bonds and you've got, you're in the market and all these things, but real estate is a proven pathway to long-term wealth. 85% of the world's wealth has gotten rich through real estate. So how would that make anything different with you? Start buying properties now, and then in 10, 20 years, you have 10 or 12, 20 free and clear properties. My goal is 48 properties over the next 3 years. I'm about 1/4 of the way there. So a little bit further on, what happened in my story is that I moved to Anchorage, Alaska in 1981. It was a boom town. In 1985, it was a bust town. I moved back to California. In 1985, there was nothing happening in Anchorage, Alaska. They were shutting businesses left and right. It was an oil town, and it just really pretty much shut down, and no one could sell nothing. They couldn't sell their homes. And so fortunately, I got lucky and had a property that I bought, and I was able to get out of it and make a profit. It was like a ghost town when I left. And I moved to California at the time, and it was absolutely booming. As far as you could see was construction. And so that was one of the things that started me down the road of, wow, there's different markets have different boom and bust cycles. So let's kind of go on here. All right, going back here. Hello, Rich Dad, my father-in-law. So fast forward, after I moved back to California, I met my wife-to-be in 1986. And her dad was a realtor, and he was a buy and hold specialist. He just bought properties, kept properties, held on to them, understood it, and rented them out. And then he would exchange them, and then he would hold on to them, exchange them, and now he's substantially wealthy. In 1990, when I was not even 30 years old, I finally able to have enough capital because the boom times of the California real estate market, where I was able to invest. But I realized that there was only 8% affordability factor according to the stats in Orange County, California. And I said, well, if only 8% of the people are going to be able to buy a home, afford a home in 1990, that means there's probably going to be an adjustment of values, because if people can't afford to buy a house, they're either going to rent, so they won't be buying, or they're going to move somewhere else. But I just didn't want to invest in an area where I felt that there could be a big drop. So I asked my rich dad, where would we invest? So together we started researching other areas. We went to Arizona, we went to Florida, we landed in Austin. And I took a big old map and went east from the coast, and really from about the mountains in California all the way through Arizona, Tucson, New Mexico, all the way through halfway through Texas, and is pretty much desert until you get to Austin. And Austin is very, very much more of a tropical feel. It's very green and everything. So the first trip out there, I purchased 3 single family homes. That was in 1991, 92. We bought 3 single family homes in that first trip. And we started sharing the Austin idea all the way back then with our friends and coworkers, and they started coming out back then and buying homes. But in all my trips going back and forth, I really realized that this could be a really good place to get married and raise a family. And so it's exactly what I did. I was concerned about in the California area that there was too much of the haves and the have-nots. Plus, also worried about the fact that they had a lot of in the schools, there was like gangs were starting to pop up. And I was like, I just didn't know if I wanted to raise my kids in that atmosphere. So we started a mortgage company when I first got here, and then and also a real estate company, and working with first-time buyers, doing a lot because they were the underserved. We were working with first-time home buyers, and then we started working with investors because it was the same product. So I became a first-time homebuyer expert, knowing all the areas where these small homes, 1,500, 1,600 square foot, turned out to be really good investments as well. The rents were high, the interest rates were low, the prices were low, and so we started buying our properties as well. But and started to stack up a substantial portfolio of properties. And what I did though notice was the counter cycles. So we'll talk about that right now, counter cycles of the market. So this chart has been a chart that's really has been going on for 40, 50 years. It's not always a complete 100% counter cycle. And what I mean by that is the coasts are normally on a somewhat of a set on the 7 to 10 year real estate cycle is on a counterbalances, so to speak. So like I said, when I moved from Alaska to California, Alaska was the same as the Texas market. Texas market was similar to Alaska. It was oil based. But I moved from Alaska to California. California was just coming out of a recession. And from 85 to 92, there was a lot of employment growth. The aerospace industry was booming. And so we saw a huge appreciation of properties from about in 85 to about 91, 92, when I decided it was time to start looking at other areas. And so in the meantime, there was a boom going on in Texas. It was driven by lax real estate tax laws and also by overbuilding and free money, the real easy money, especially a lot of commercial. And it led to a major overbuilding in 1985, 86. When the tax laws changed, the whole economy kind of crashed and the prices started declining. So by the time 91, 92 came around, they started to recover. And that's when I came out and started buying up my first properties. Now in 91, 92, Dell Computers he just got out of his college dorm and he started building computers, and all of a sudden we now had one of the fastest growing companies in the world. And along with the .com run up all the way from about 92 to about 2000, we had a substantial run up in values. And in the meantime, in California, the values had dropped from the peak of 1989-90 down to the low of 1997, where we had the most the most foreclosures. It was top foreclosures was in 1997. So we all know what happened in 2000. The .com bust hit. And that was the first time Dell had announced any kind of layoffs, and it was really put a dark cloud in the Texas market. And so it really kind of put a damper on the whole real estate market. Meantime, California started coming out of the doldrums, and around 2000 started to really accelerate. And then, of course, all the flipping going on and anybody could buy a property really started to accelerate through the 04, 05. And that's when I went to California here. It was about 04, 05. I started talking to people about the fact that, hey, it would probably be a good idea for you to maybe start thinking about diversifying back into a more safer market. And people are like, "Oh, you're crazy. This value keeps going up. In fact, it's gone up 17% in one quarter." And I'm like, "Well, that's not sustainable. It's gonna change." And so, of course, we know what happened in 06. After 06, that was the peak. 07 hit. 08, the mortgage crisis. This cycle went on actually 2 to 3 years longer because of the easy greasy money that the savings loans and everybody was offering out. No income, no asset, no verification of anything, and it was obviously a worldwide Ponzi scheme because of what's happened with the mortgage market. And we had a huge crash. Property values dropped 50 to 100%. I mean, what was 700,000 was by the bottom of the market was 350,000. It dropped really, cut 50% in half. And so that's kind of what we saw, not in all areas, but in many of the areas we saw a huge decline. In the meantime, Texas pretty much rode up that same boom for a while and then just leveled out. And you've kind of noticed this chart, it levels out. We go up 4, 5, 7, 10 years, and then we level out. Then we go 5, 6, 7 years, then we level out. And what we have here is we have a lot less fluctuation in values. So kind of going into flash forward to where we're at now, obviously the Bay Area, Southern California has really had 100% increase in values in the last 3 to 4 years, which is totally to the point where you have very little bit affordability factor. You can see all the articles that are going out. It's one of the reasons why I keep visiting California, saying, "Hey, we got some alternatives out here in Texas you might love." And what's really happened is that the affordability has gotten to the point where, there's only 35% ownership in San Francisco right now. Everybody else is renting, and the average 2-bedroom apartment in San Francisco is $4,900 a month. That's pretty harsh. And then the average median sales price is $1.7 million. People are really kind of getting fed up or just saying no. And in fact, I have an article here sitting on my desk that was it was at the Santa Clara Hyatt House where I was doing my presentation, and it said that the Bay Area, San Jose Bay Area, had shifted into neutral. Actually the first drop in values of that, only 2.2%, not bad, but the first drop in values in what since 2010, and that drop in values was a little shakeup in the market. And what happens with that is that it compounds upon itself. What happens is sellers can't sell for what they thought they could get for it when they're thinking they were going to get multiple offers. Buyers are saying, we're sitting on the sidelines and we're not going to buy. And so why would I buy? If it dropped 2.2% on a $1.5 million house, that means it just dropped $30,000. I mean, that 2.2% doesn't sound like a lot, but it is when you start thinking about the actual values. And so that's what may start. I can't predict the future, what's going to happen in that market, but I think it is pretty overheated and it might be time to get some of that equity out, like Mr. Bill did, and move the equity into a safer market. That's what we do. And we do tax deferred if you're doing an investment property, or tax free if you're actually selling one of your primary residence up to $500,000 tax free of gain, and $250 if you're a single. So this chart has opened a lot of eyes, but I also want to show you the actual charts from the Texas A&M Research Center and University. So we'll get to that in a second. All right. So why should I buy? Why should I invest in real estate? This is what if you haven't invested, I'm going to give you some answers. Where should I invest in real estate? Where should I throw the dart? That's what we're experts at. How should I invest it? And that has to do with your team, and that's what we do, is put together a team, surround you so you can handle it all. And who should I trust to help me with that? That it's more important to bet on the jockey than it is to bet on the horse. So it's important that you have a team, somebody that specializes in real estate investments. That's what they do. That way you can be rest assured that you put your head on the pillow at night and not worry about anything. Our properties are turnkey. In other words, our managers take over, and you do not have to worry about answering any calls about broken toilets, termites, or tenants. So it offers a great bundle of benefits that a lot of other investments don't. You get obviously income, and that's from the rents that are coming in. And the income, in our cases, more often than not, from the rent will be higher than all the expenses on the property. And that's what we call positive cash flow. And in a lot of higher priced areas of the nation, you don't get positive cash flow. You have to own it almost free and clear to get a positive cash flow. But here in Central Texas, we have positive cash flows. And that's nice to not know you have to pay a check every month. Someone else is going to pay off that mortgage for you. And where else can you have an investment where you purchase it and somebody else pays it off for you? It's pretty cool. We also have incredible tax benefits, and the benefits of not only the expenses, everything related to the property as an expense as a write-off, but also you get a paper write-off, which is called depreciation. And that depreciation write-off is huge. The more property you own, the more depreciation you have. It shelters your positive cash flow. It shelters your income. It can also, if done properly, check with your CPA, check with your financial advisor, but if done properly, you can also help offset some of your ordinary income as well. And we can do a whole presentation on the tax benefits and depreciation, but the bottom line is that you get great tax benefits. Why people keep coming back and saying, I need to buy more because I need a better write-off. That's what my wife was saying. We were like, we need more, because the less you pay to the government, the more money you have available to invest more capital in real estate. And that's what we're doing. Okay, and leverage. That's another thing. Is the great thing about real estate is that we get to borrow against it. Somebody else pays it off, and we get the benefit of all the appreciation. So if we put 25% down on a property and it appreciates 25% in value over the next couple of years, which is very likely, that your equity now you've doubled your initial investment, and I mean as far as your equity or position. So the leverage allows you to buy more, and as the value goes up, the appreciation is like free net worth growth. So that's what we kind of call this. This is called get rich consistently. We're not talking about getting rich quick. If you be very careful if you have anybody saying that you can get rich quick in real estate. We don't do a whole lot of fixing and flipping, because that's a whole nother system. And also the tax benefits on there are not as great as they are for those that are a buy and hold strategy. And so the equity growth in real estate is proven. Now, obviously, it can work in going the opposite direction, going down. But as you can see, in the median price or below, and we'll show you the more charts on that. That we don't really have big drops in value in the median price or below, at least the last 40 years. So estate disposition advantages. Well, we talked about a little bit about our legacy, why we'd want to, own all this property is because if you buy, our values here double about every 15 to 20 years on average, 15 to 18 years. And so if you bought, let's say 10 properties here, like Mr. Bill did in 10 to 15 to 20 years, that $1.5 million worth of property should be worth $3 million. If you put on a 15-year mortgage, they'll be free and clear. And he owns them free and clear, but if you put on a mortgage, it'd be free and clear. So you'd have $3 million. Your positive cash will be probably somewhere between $9,000 and $10,000 per month. And so it's not bad. But the thing about it is that if you sell those properties, after all this appreciation, all this depreciation if you sell all those properties the day before you pass, you're going to pay a huge amount of capital gains taxes and depreciation recapture. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars on that scenario. But if you bequeath it to your kids, your heirs will get what's called a stepped up basis, which means that they don't have to pay the taxes. If they sold the property the day after you passed, that whatever dad would have paid on taxes before he passed, the son or daughter get a stepped up basis. It means they don't pay any taxes on that property that you would have if you did it while you still owned it. So it's a great way to pass wealth and create a legacy for your children tax-free. They always say can't avoid death and taxes, but there is a way to avoid taxes. Check with your CPA and check with your financial advisor, as I'm not qualified to talk about the details of your particular situation. So another why real estate, Warren Buffett, the equities guy, says single-family homes are a very attractive investment right now and have held for long periods of time, purchased at low rates. Buffett says houses are even better than stocks. Buffett says he'd buy up a couple 100,000 single-family homes if it were practical to do so. That's actually what several companies did. Blackstone, American Homes for Rent, these huge hedge funds several years ago saw what the trends of the market, did exactly that, bought up hundreds of thousands of properties, foreclosure steps, and just paid cash for them. And they snapped them all up and rented them out, and now they're disposing of them, taking advantage of their profits. So some people took Buffett's advice here and bought a couple hundred thousand single-family homes. So here's actually talked about millennials here, why real estate, not stocks, is America's favorite investment, and talks about how that less than 40% of the current population is invested in stocks. It's like 37%. I thought it'd be a lot more. And just 10 years ago, 60 to 70% of Americans were in the stock market. So this article was pretty interesting, and I can be glad to send a copy of it, but it talks about how the young adults do believe in real estate, and the millennials are the biggest, they're the biggest consumer market to hit the world ever. And they like real estate. So that's a good sign. So 4 top barriers to getting started. There's no deadline. This is a self-employed business. So if you don't set a deadline, it just never happened. There's limiting beliefs. Can I really do this? Does this make sense? Am I going to lose my shirt? Who do I trust? All that kind of stuff, and it leads to analysis paralysis. I have a lot of people that are super savvy with their spreadsheets, but they don't take any action. And as the market keeps accelerating, going on, and life passes you by, and I was like, I shoulda, I wish I coulda, I wish I shoulda, but I got analysis paralysis. So I help you through that, hopefully. And it starts with the first one. And then you don't have a big enough why. We talked about my whys, and maybe your whys are similar, but it really has to do with creating a lifestyle and financial freedom, but also about legacy. So what's your why? And what would you do if you had several $1 million worth of free and clear property feeding you several $1,000s a month in positive cash flow? Okay, let's talk about case study. This happened this year. This is on Guilford Street in San Mateo. This is Mr. Bill's house. He sold this house for $1.45 million. He actually listed for $1.3 million, and it got bid up in March from there by 5 offers to 10% higher than full price that he was asking. And so Incredible. 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1-car garage for 1.4 million, 1.45 million. Okay. But he did what's called a 1031 tax deferred exchange. So he did not put the money in his pocket because he would have paid tons and tons of taxes. He did an exchange. He put the money in an exchange combinator, and he bought these 9 houses. And all brand new, and they were all in different construction, and that way he was able to do his 1031 exchange and get these properties named ahead of time. In other words, he didn't have to worry about, in the exchange rules, you have to name your properties within 45 days of closing the relinquished property, and you have to, 45 days to name it and 180 days to close. Well, that can get really kind of hairy because you got to reinvest the entire amount that you sold the property for. So we'd actually had all these under contract, ready for him to close his Guildford house, so he could, as these closed, his 1031 would be able to already have his uplegs in place. It made for his life to be a little bit more simpler rather than scrambling around to try to find out where to spend $1.5 million worth of within the 45-day naming period. He had them all named before he even sold the other house. So he probably followed this whole market. The whole idea was to move his equity out of his one rental house and come and buy 10 here. And his cash flow play tripled. He went from a $3,300 a month rental on the San Mateo house, which is probably low from what I'm understanding now, but he's now getting over $13,000 in rent on these houses. So pretty cool thing. All right, so hopefully this slide will catch up, but this is an Austin median home price as from the Texas A&M Real Estate Center, and this is Austin Board of Realtors stats. You can see going back to 1990 when I first moved here, the average house was about $72,000, and that's what I paid, right in that range for the 3 houses that I bought when I first came here. And then we see it goes up all the way through, like my other chart did, was a little more dramatic, but it went up to about 2001. Then we had the Dell layoffs and the .com bust. But you notice the values pretty much just leveled out between 2001 and 2005. And in the meantime, California is going through the roof. That was the time when it didn't matter what you bought, it would go up, 25% a year. But here it leveled out. But in 05, 06, we started to see a pickup in the pricing. And then, of course, 07, 08, 09, 010, 11, that's when our mortgage crisis shook out, where we saw huge drops in prices, 30, 50% in California. Whereas here, we just leveled out. This is the median home price. We didn't get hammered by the dramatic mortgage crisis. We had a big drop in volume, but we didn't have a big drop in prices, at least in the median and below. And then since then, through 2018, 19, 20, we've had quite a run up. Of course, we're in the largest expansion that's ever happened, the largest expansion since the 60s or 70s. But the economists say, and I thought that we were going to have just from normal cycles that we were going to have an adjustment already. But right now we got 2-3 years more of super, super solid dynamics and growth in our economy and our real estate. There's too many people moving here. There's 200 people a day moving here. That's 3,000 people a month. 40-some thousand people a year are moving here. So they got to live somewhere. And if affordability gets to be too expensive, guess what they do? They rent. And that's where we come in. We have the properties to give them. So talk about the home sales. Like I said, this is the volume we were talking about. And then 06, we had a great volume, almost 30,000 homes. And that, of course, dropped by 30% by 2010. We were down to 19,000 homes sold. But if you remember, you look at the values didn't go down. The volume went down. So population for our Austin metro continue. And in fact, I think we have a higher trajectory, and the population here has doubled since I moved here. And once again, one of the fastest growing and fastest changing cities, hopefully for the better, in the United States. What drives every real estate market, and take note here, is jobs. Where are jobs moving to, and are they good jobs? What kind of jobs are they? Well, we know our high tech hub here, along with all, we're 10th largest city in the nation, so we have all the stuff. We have the largest university in the United States, University of Texas. We have the Capitol. We have, it's a big city. It's as big as San Jose. But what we have is jobs, and that's why people are moving here, not only to take they can get a great job and have a much better lifestyle, a much better housing lifestyle than they can in other areas. And so we're creating jobs faster than we can fill them. There actually is it's a employees market right now, and so especially the high tech people, they have to pay premiums. I noticed that Apple, I talked to a couple of my Apple friends they're encouraging a lot of their Apple Bay Area people to move over here when the time's right. The $1 billion Apple facility should be built by 2021, and there's going to be 6,000 really software jobs, and that's going to be an amazing thing. So human capital once again being transferred, not just equity capital, but human capital. Our inventory has been, since 2013, we've been around less than 3 month inventory on homes. The average for a healthy market is 6 months, 5.5 months. So we are still completely low on inventory. So prices keep going up, rents keep going up. We'll talk a little about rent price ratios. Rents aren't going up as fast as prices. So that's why we have to be very careful where we throw the dart on which homes we're going to be buying. So here's our median home price. Once again, you can see the average annual appreciation since 1999 has been about 5%. Right now, it's closer to 7 to 9%, depending on where you buy. And we don't want it to go too steep, because then we could have a potential down adjustment. But as you can see, pretty much just go up for a while and then level out. And that's a nice thing to know, that you're not going to have to worry about these huge swings in value, which could really put a crimp on your budget. So kind of comparing a little bit the stock market, and we're looking at our chart here, and stocks have always been really good over the long haul as well. But my concern is that we haven't had an adjustment since when? I mean, they bottomed out in 2009, and it had dropped a full 25-30%, went from 14,000 down to 7,000. That's 50% drop, and that doesn't happen in real estate, at least not in this area. It doesn't drop 50% in 4 years or 2 years. It was a 2 year period. But now we've had from 2009 to 2019, 10 years of accelerated growth. I'm just concerned there's probably going to be an adjustment. So do a lot of my clients. They say this market's crazy, and want to be careful whenever you say a market like the real estate market is crazy, which it is in San Jose, San Mateo area, and Orange County area. You be careful. That's indications that could be a possible adjustment. And same thing with the stock market. I'm not a stock guy, so I can't really predict it, but I do see there's a potential for an adjustment here somewhere along the line. I like this a little more stable line as we go up. 5% appreciation. If I got 25% in the property, I'm actually getting a 25% return every year on my equity. Okay, so that's our counter cycles to coast. I hope that's been educational for you. All right, so how do we how do we help our clients invest in real estate? We really go do the research. We know where to throw the dart. We really focus on quality properties and quality areas. Most of our clients are buying new or newer, though I bought 2 houses last year that were built in the 50s, but that was in a special situation, and I'm happy with those purchases. But most of them, for the most part, are homes that are new or newer. And so the new ones, why our investors, especially the very busy high-tech workers, is that they're under warranty. And everything's new. So in 5 years, you have 5-year-old appliances. In 10 years, you have 10-year-old appliances, instead of buying something that was built, 15 years ago, that in 10 years, you're going to have 25-year-old appliances. So, we do the research, and we cherry pick. We do a lot of work in the Apple high-tech corridor, the Northwest. I've got some great videos on that. I've got a lot of great video resources about what you're thinking about here is what we do. But also we look at submarkets, and the submarkets right now are outperforming the Austin proper, because there's just too much attention on Austin proper. So if you're interested in learning more about our submarkets, which include anywhere from North San Antonio to Waco, we can talk about those markets, about which ones we found have been the best. But we not only do the macro research, we do the micro research. I mean, all the way down to the neighborhood, to the house, to what the rents are, and what the taxes are, and what the demographics and geographics and the infrastructure and quality of life and the schools and all that kind of stuff. That's our research, and ongoing research to make sure we're informed, so our clients are informed. Then we help you with the acquisition from start to finish. And the acquisition pretty much process is that, you'll look at our inventory of homes and the places that we're looking at. A lot of our clients will buy these properties based on my recommendation and then come out and see them, or they'll come out. Like we have 2 investors coming this weekend, and we're going to take them on a tour. They've already actually got their houses under contract with a builder, but haven't been built yet. But they got them under contract because the builders were cutting everybody off. So they went ahead and took a dive on getting it purchased ahead of time. Now they're flying out to take a look at what they bought, and hopefully they'll love it. And then also get to take a tour and look at other properties that while they're out here. So about 30% of our clients buy the homes sight unseen through the videos that I perform, that I do. And also through just hands-on, looking at the pro formas, and based on my years of doing this and my track record. And so some of our clients have never seen their properties, but we do. We drive by them all the time. We help with management. That's the whole thing. The key to your long-term investment is the management. We don't have our own management company, but we do the leasing, which is what most of our clients are concerned about. How long is this property going to stay vacant? And for the most part, we're looking at a week to 2 weeks is what our average has been. We've seen longer times, 30 days and even 60 days. We get very personal about if they stay vacant for any more than 3 weeks. So we start throwing a lot of marketing dollars, direct marketing, direct mail, Facebook ads to make sure that our properties are at the forefront of the rental market. And then we turn it over to management. Our management company only charges $78 per month, flat fee. So that's a really good value. And then they take care of the day-to-day, everything from collecting the rents to dealing with any tenant issues to qualifying the tenants when they're moving into the background checks, getting them checked in, collecting the rents every month, and then sending you a check every month. So you'll never really deal with any tenants at all. The only time you'll ever get a call from a management company is if you need something that needs to be replaced, like an air conditioner. But in a brand new house or something that's a few years old, that's usually a non-issue. And then ultimately, we like to help you dispose of the property. It's disposition of the property. And what I mean by that is that someday, for whatever reason, you may want to sell this property. We have a lot of people that sell it because they're getting married, getting divorced, sending their kids through college. They bought 10 years ago, values have almost doubled. And now they want to just liquidate, pay the taxes, and use the money for elsewhere. Or we help you with a 1031 tax deferred exchange, which a lot of clients do is they double down or triple down. So they'll sell that property they bought in 05, like I did with a property in Round Rock, sell the house in 05 and turn around and buy 3 more with the proceeds, brand new, of course. So all under warranty with double the rent. So do you have a question there?
Yeah, there's a couple questions. First one from Akshat.
Yeah.
Can I buy investment property if I don't have a primary property? Is there such a restriction?
Yeah, it's a good question. And a couple of years ago, for some whatever reason, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac decided that if you didn't have a primary residence, you couldn't buy out of state or buy a rental property. Well, that rule has changed. And so our companies that we work with, our lending companies that we deal with, allow for you to buy it if you're not a primary residence owner. And that's another part of the acquisition process, is that I used to own a mortgage company. I ran one, owned it for many years. So one of the benefits that I have is I know the mortgage industry backwards and forwards. And so nobody can pull the wool over my eyes on whether you're getting the right rate or good service. I know the difference, and we have cherry-picked lenders just like we have our cherry-picked management. And so the answer to your question is no, you don't have to be a primary residence owner to own investment properties. Good question. What's the next one?
Next one is from Steven. What are occupancy rates like?
Oh, occupancy rates are 94%, and that just came out in a recent article, and it's up from 92%. Those are apartment rates, but usually we have less than 3 to 4% vacancy factor in the Austin metro. So it's been, well, you remember you saw the slide about the months of inventory. Same thing with rentals. Our rental inventory is very low. We don't have enough. So good question.
Stephen had a follow-up. Some folks that do this guarantee a certain period of positive cash flow. Do you?
That was kind of a scheme back in the 05, 06 days when builders would be building out in areas. I remember that was out because I was on the speaking circuit and kind of speaking along with all these other people pitching all these other areas of the nation. I think I can't remember, it was Tennessee or somewhere. They were offering a certain amount of, we'll offer you 3 months rent or 12 months rent, but really does anything for free. What they really did was they just raised the price of the house and then subsidized the rent. So we do have an opportunity right now. If you're interested, like I said, was that we have several houses that are coming up that are already rented, and that's a nice feeling because you already got the tenant in place, no vacancy, no leasing fees. The tenant's already there, and that could be a good way to insure. But no, I don't really. I really try to just get the best price and the best terms, and then get them rented quickly. That's our key. Good question. What's up?
That's it for now.
Okay.
But if you have any more questions, feel free to.
Please do. Thanks. Okay, so this is kind of where we throw the dart, and this is something we do all the time, is looking for where the great deals are. And so a lot of these other, like I said, I've spoken all over the nation for the last 25 years and there's a lot of people pitching a lot of different areas from Alabama to North Carolina, and there's pros and cons for every area, Florida, and even Buffalo, New York. I mean, Buffalo, New York, and Detroit, although they have the amazingly low values and prices, they're also according to Forbes, are some of the worst places in America to live. So do I want to invest in an area that's ranked as some of the worst places to live? Detroit was number one, by the way. What it does, the low-end properties offer you what appears to be cash flow, large cash flow, because the low-end properties offer, because prices are low, they're offering more positive cash flow. But you have to also realize that the cash flow doesn't always reflect the capital expenditures. So I own a duplex free and clear in Southeast Austin. It was in a rough area. Not that we'd had a whole lot of rough areas in Austin, but this particular area was pretty rough. I owned it free and clear. It was about $100,000 duplex back in the day. And at the end of the year, I'm looking at my tax returns and I go, what? I have zero positive cash flow. What happened here? Well, we had vacancy factor. We had vagrants living in the other unit, which made it so people wouldn't rent the unit because they'd come there and there'd be somebody camping out. They'd break a window and get in. We had plumbing issues because the trees were growing across. So the cash flow looked good because I didn't have any loan on it, but up front. But my hassle factor was huge. So I have a hassle factor, which caused me really to have no cash flow. My appreciation obviously would have done really good in the last few years, but back then was pretty flat. I wasn't seeing any growth. And then the liquidity in a slow market, you can't get rid of these properties. In a slow market, you are stuck with them. So the low end is not where we focus on. In the medium price, average properties, good deals, and you offer a lot of benefits there. First of all, higher appreciation. Higher liquidity, easier to sell a medium price house, and then you have lower hassle factors. Like our newer construction is quite, basically no hassle factors, and then appreciation isn't as high. But in looking at where your hassle factor is very low, your appreciation is high, your hassle factor is low. But then we like to kind of get in this market right here, and this is kind of where we're at. Is the prices that are, like I said, the median price in Austin is about $300,000. We're buying in the low 220s. In our submarkets, we're buying in the 150s, 160s, and we're looking for this area where we have great liquidity, a combination of good cash flow, low hassle factor, and good solid appreciation. That's exactly what's happened. And that's what's happened over the last 20 some years I've been doing with these. Once we stay in this area, we do real well with our investors. This is a chart worth keeping, holding on to. In fact, if you're interested, I'll send you a copy of this PowerPoint.
Real quick, Akshat had a follow-up.
Yeah.
So he was asking about the owning a property if you don't have your own primary residence. Will bank give the loan on this situation, or does it have to be taken from private lenders?
Yeah, no, banks will loan on that all day long. So the thing about it is, if you have not been an investor for 12 months, you'll have to qualify for both your living expenses, your rent, your income to debt ratios of whatever you're carrying, and the new mortgage payment that you're going to have on these houses, which are relatively low. Or you have to have a renter in place at closing. Let's say you don't qualify without the rent coming in. Well, then you have to get a tenant in place and the security deposit cashed with a lease in place, and you show that to the lender, and we're good to go. If you are owned a property more than 12 months, you've been an investor more than 12 months, this is really cool. This changed a few years ago back to where it was, which is they will use 75% of the estimated income of the property to qualify you for the mortgage. So the mortgage is usually less than 75%. So it's actually doesn't count as a debt against you at all if you've already been in the game. So for me, my debt to income ratios are not affected at all when I'm buying a property, because the rent is more than 75% of what the payments less than 75% of what the government allow for the rent on the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac loan. So the bottom line is that as long as you can carry your own debt load, you're fine. On your first one, if you either get it leased, or you should be able to. I mean, my payment on my house I just closed out was about $140,000 house, $1,300 a month rent, and I'm getting $770. My payment's $775. I mean, my debt income ratios weren't affected at all. So good question. Any more? Okay.
No.
Okay, so yeah, these are the houses in the sweet spot here. This is actually very similar to the house that I bought that was $140,000. This house here was $190,000. This house, 1,650 square foot, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, rents for about $1,400. It's paid for about $160. So, and these are all brand new construction. You can see that they're made with 4 sides or 3 sides masonry, or if this one's hardy panel on the side, which is considered masonry. So we got low insurance rates. Our tax rates range anywhere from 2.1% to 2.9%. So we always look at that as a very important factor. Is in a cash flow situation is what's the tax rate. We'll get into performance here in a second, so you can kind of see that. This is the 9 houses that Mr. Bill bought, and this is all pretty much in our sweet spot, all new construction, and only one. Yeah, we bought one that was about 9 months old as well. So no hassle factors on these puppies. So I'll give you a typical Central Texas investment, and this is a house that we just closed on. It's $189,000. And this is your typical 1,650 square foot. I own 2 homes just like this, the same model, same floor plan, and very well appointed with laminate floors and or tile floors. We usually do the vinyl plank, which is very durable, or we'll do the just regular straight tile. Granite countertops, island kitchen, tile floors, tile backsplash, higher end cabinets, stainless steel appliances, all new. Higher end fixtures. We're not talking about custom. We're talking about track tone, but we're definitely nicely well appointed. Good sized master bedroom, vaulted ceilings, pop up ceilings with a ceiling fan. This all comes standard. And these slides might not keep up with my audio, so just keep in mind. So here's the master bath, dual sinks, and then you can see on that shower back there that it has a tile surround. So it's a very well appointed home. Covered patio, which we highly recommend that you put covered patios in your properties, because Texas can get hot, and that's very convenient. How's our slides keeping up?
We're doing good.
Okay, good. Here's the backyard. We make sure that every home that we do or we encourage every home that we do to be what we call turnkey ready, which means everything's in. The backyard's in, the sprinklers are in, so that the people can't say that the lawn died, because they with sprinkler system they have no excuse for keeping the lawn alive. And the good news is that the tenants pay for everything. The only thing you pay for is your mortgage payment and your HOA dues. Everything else the tenant pays for as far as maintenance is concerned. They pay their own utilities, they cut their own lawn, they take care of everything. And so you don't have to worry about that. And we are out there monitoring these properties, because we're selling and owning our own properties in these same neighborhoods. If we see a lawn that's starting to get a little tweaked, a little bit dry or whatever, we'll call the property manager up and we'll say, hey, get on it. Do that all the time, because we want to make sure that our builders, our neighborhoods, our communities, that everybody is, when we sell a property in a neighborhood, that we are looking better as a rental property, looking better than the owner occupied properties, because we don't want to get a reputation. I've been doing this for a long time, own properties in these areas. I don't want a reputation these properties start having the grass go up and knee high and all that kind of stuff. So we manage the managers and we monitor the managers, and we demand that they do a good job. And if they don't, we switch. But we have great management right now. All right, let's look at the numbers. Okay, this that same house that we were just showing you, that's $189,000. It's actually in Belton, not Temple, but it's rent range on that is $1,550 to $1,650, and the current rent on it. This is Mr. Bill bought this one, is $1,600 a month, a month rent. Tax rate's a little bit high at 2.9%. It's built in 2018, so it's less than a year old. So it's still under its builder warranty. I have a 6 cap, which is pretty typical of a Austin investor, Austin area, Central Texas investment property. 6 or 7. Sometimes we see an 8. The payment on it is $1,161. That's at 4.5 right now. Rates around 4.65 for good top shelf credit with 25% down. And then we're looking at the $1,600 a month payment when we subtract out this one actually, I'm going to update that. It's actually supposed to be $20 a month on the HOA fee. So we're going to, Daniel, make a note. We got to get this slide updated. But anyways, $78 management fee. And then of course we take into consideration the management fee, the 24-month leasing fee, which why I say that is usually people stay for 2 to 3 years. So you don't really going to have a vacancy every year. You're not going to have a leasing fee every year. So we just average that over 2 years of figuring 1 month vacant and 1 month leasing fee. Actually, a leasing fee is not even 1 month. It's 0.75%. So we average that to give you kind of a feel. Your cash flow day to day is actually over $300 a month, but we wanted to put this vacancy factor in here to kind of see what you would see on your tax return. So this $236 a month positive is, you're not going to get rich off that. But I'll tell you what you can do is take that $236 and put it towards this mortgage up here. And we figured out that this will pay this mortgage off in about 17 years. So that's a nice feeling to know that the positive cash flow can pay this property off and be free and clear. And if everything does what it's been doing for the last 30, 40 years, it should be double value. So this $200,000 house should be worth $400,000 free and clear. Of course, who knows where the rents will be at that point in time, obviously keep up with the pace of inflation. So I have a updated pro forma that you can get from me. I'll be glad to send this spreadsheet for you to be able to play around with, and we have a lot of other resources that we like to give to our clients so that they can. We have a lot of people that are techies that really know their spreadsheets. So, all right. So what we do, we are your real estate investment team. I've come up with the acronym Trusted Experts, Advisors, and Mentors. If we don't know the answer to a question, we will get it. And you got to have somebody you can confide in. This is what we do, and this is where we are cut our teeth on is day-to-day real estate investing. Most realtors are not specialists in the whole real estate investment realm. They'd be happy to sell you a house, but they really don't have the team. And this team kind of looks like this: you in the middle being the millionaire real estate investor, and then me being your consultant, and sometimes even we partner with people. And then we also here, because it's not something that most people do every day, is mentorship, and be your confidant. And is this a good investment or is it not? Would you buy it? And that's one thing. My rule is if I go into a property, if I wouldn't buy it, I would not recommend it to one of my clients. And then you have the support circle on the outside there, which is your real estate agents. That we work with other real estate agents. They actually bring us off-market deals before they hit the market. We also deal with a lot of the on-site agents. We have great relationships with the people working for the builders. They'll call us first because they know we have a pocket full of investors. We work with other investors. We have accountants available for you if you need accounting advice. And then we have contractors you'll never deal with because your property manager and our hand-picked property managers are involved with hiring all the service circle that you see on the outside here. Most of this is handled by the property manager. Of course, we are also dealing with title companies, appraisers, inspectors, and we are leasing agents. And so all these things are part of what we do as well to help augment the property manager's job of getting these good tenants in the properties. We also have 1031 exchange specialists, exchange accommodators, if you want to do a exchange for rental property. And of course, we have handpicked lenders that you want to deal with a lender who's very experienced with investment properties and very experienced with Texas, because Texas is different than other states. So that's our network that most people, clients, other professionals don't really have this network all put together. I mean, I own multiple properties. Our family owns multiple properties, so we have to have all of these support and service circles available. And so we plug you into this. At no additional charge. By the way, I don't charge anything for. I guess I should turn my phone on. I don't charge anything for my services because the builders and the sellers pay me from the real estate commission. So just to keep in mind, a lot of these people out there selling, real estate club memberships and things like that. That's not what I do. I would rather you spend the money on a property than spend it on some kind of coaching program for $20,000 or $50,000. They're out there. It really kind of irks me that people take their down payment and invest it in a coaching program rather than buying a property. And so you get coaching for free. And that first property is your biggest learning curve. And that's what I work very close with you. Once you get that first property, the second, third, fourth become a lot easier because you already get the past learning curve. All right, so I coach. I'm looking at relationships. This is all about, our clients. If they're happy, they're going to come back and buy more, or even better, they will also send their friends and relatives. We just sold one to a sister of one of our clients that just said, we're on their third property, and their sister bought one, and this is very common. So I'm looking for relationships. That's what and so I fly out to our investor areas, Southern California, Northern California, and I'd love to sit down and have coffee with you, or you can fly out here and take a look at our properties. It's great, but it's a relationship business, and in Texas, it's a good old boy business, which means that we have relationships with upper management in building companies and things like that that took a long time to develop. Tori talked to you about our research, our market data. We take you on tours if you want to come out. Otherwise, do everything by video and by DocuSign. Traveling notaries and what have you. Target the properties from contract to close. Handle everything: inspections, walkthroughs, deal with the coordinated management companies, title companies, exchange companies, and get this all it's just plugged in. And then we coordinate to get you set up with expert property management. And we provide leasing services in conjunction with the property management. And the reason is because property managers don't have the kind of budget that we do to be able to market and do the direct marketing that will help drive. We had one property that stayed vacant for more than 40 days, so I spent $1,000 on a 2,200 piece direct marketing to the area, and we got 2 properties rented off of that mailer. So we take leasing very seriously. And of course, we got expert guidance through the whole ownership process. If you have any questions, it doesn't stop just because you closed on the house. We help you all the way through. Help you with protesting your property taxes and all kinds of stuff. If there's any questions you have, clients call me all the time and say, hey, what about this? And then, of course, we're looking at coordinating the sale of the property in the future, or preferably an exchange, or if you heir it to your kids. So that's kind of one-stop shopping and turnkey investment property here in Central Texas and Austin market. So once again, it's the end of our webinar. What time we got? Stay under time.
3:20.
Went a little bit long, but that's okay. So here you go.
Stephen had a question.
Oh yeah, Stephen.
He was asking if he can get a copy of the slide deck.
Yeah, sure. I'll send it to everybody if you give me your correct.
Well, we've got their email, so
yeah, we'll send you a copy of the whole PowerPoint presentation, as well as this video here. We'll have this so you can review and please share it with your with your friends and coworkers and things like that. It gets to be a lot more fun, by the way, if you do this together with a few people. I know what happens. I have a lot of people that will have a group of friends that want to do this, but they'll send somebody out, one person out to try it first, and if it works for them, then everybody else gets involved. So it can be kind of fun and exchange notes and things like that. You can call me at my phone number. That's my cell number. You hear going off all the time here. And don't be afraid to call me, because a lot of people say, oh, he's so busy. No, I'm not. I want my phone to ring because that means I'm helping somebody get closer to buying an investment property for their legacy. Got my email address, Kenn, Kenn @buyaustin.com. And I do believe if you do Renner to 88,000 now, we have that slide deck on there, but we'll email it to you. Any other questions that we have before we?
Not at the moment, but if anybody wants to jump in with a question real quick before we sign off.
Yeah, so once again, it's minimal time, minimal effort, and minimal capital. We've been doing this. This is like we do it in our sleep now because it works. And it is definitely it's a buy and hold strategy for the most part. There might be a property you get that would be a fix-up. We also deal with VA foreclosures as well. We don't ignore any segment of the market. Our specialty is more down the line of turnkey, newer properties in high appreciating areas with good positive cash flow and like I said, high appreciating and cash flow. And we can have a conversation when you talk. What I normally do is I like to have a conversation with my clients before I go property specific. So I have an onboarding email that kind of gives you the 10,000 foot overview, kind of also a replay of this video here, as well as kind of where do a Google Earth around the Austin area and kind of dive in. Then I do, after we have a conversation about moving forward, then I show you property specific, and the inventory changes all the time. That's part of the issue that happens. Like right now, we're sold out in one of my favorite subdivisions, and so we have to wait for the next phase to open up. And so we're always constantly flexing in inventory, and then every once in a while they'll release an extra one to us. So the builders know us, and they call us first usually because they know that we have a waiting list of people looking for particular properties in particular areas. We also have pocket listings too, and off-market listings. So I control a lot of the inventory. And so if you're interested in getting connected with me, I'd love to take a call from you, or you can email me or text me or carrier pigeon, however you want to get a hold of me. And come on out to Austin. We'll serve you up some good barbecue and take you on a tour of the area. Bring a friend, and it'll be a lot of fun. So my name is Kenn Renner, real estate expert here in Austin, 512-423-5626. I hope you have a great day, and share this with a friend or two. All right. I'll talk to you soon. I appreciate it.